Hope you guys are well, trading safe. It is the 31st of August, and we've got quite a bit to talk about. We're going to touch on Fibonacci time today. We are going to talk on the key levels that we know of and what we could be looking for trigger-wise for either upside or downside in this instance. Some very clear levels to work with. So let's just dive right into it. I am going to roll through this straight through, so I'll upload one version of it all the way to YouTube, and then the other one will be broken into 3-minute segments for TikTok. That said, guys, this is the 50% pull for our macro logarithmic crab, if you guys recall, and I'll pull that pattern up in a second. But you will notice this is a very well-respected Fibonacci pull, and it is lining up very nicely with one of our Genesis pulls that I have for almost all of Bitcoin's price action going forward, looking for the idea that we will get a lengthened cycle. So you'll notice the dot 1 through 3 are dumped into the range. This is the peak of our range. So I called it the 50% in some cases. The 382 catching our move off the lows, and then the 50% here catching the exact top of our current rally. That top was off of these two levels that we were working off of. You recall I said 42,914 gets claimed. Very nice back test of the level after pushing through it. Final sell-off, moving into the Q1 key level at 49,522. And if we take a look at our fibs as well, it's just shy of the golden pocket, and we will talk about what could happen on that, what kind of move we could be looking for into that golden pocket and how I would be playing it. Same with moves to the downside if there are any. So you can see that we are above the 50%, but coming up just shy of your 618 at 51,137, as the high was 50,564.50. All right, so we did have a really nice move up, and this was a really easy move to spot in terms of Fibonacci. So if I take the time aspect off of here just to kind of decrease the amount of lines that are on the chart, let's take a look at some of the Fibonacci pulls that were would have identified this really easy. If you were playing off the shark that we had previously, the large shark was coming in right here. We call him the Richard shark, something that we were looking for in the group when this happened, actually. And then you're looking for the 50% mark, which we've attained. So I'm not looking at this as a 5-0 just yet. I don't think that's in the cards. I don't think that this is the proper structure either. So one of those things where keep that in mind. And then you do have an additional pattern at play, another shark here into what I call the global point of control. If we turn on our VPVR, you will notice that the move itself has the POC at 56,382. If you're watching on TikTok, I will be uploading part 2 shortly, but this would be one of the targets we have over time to get to, and we've talked about that in the past with quarterly ranges, so we will dive into that today. So into part 2 for TikTok, part 1 still for YouTube, obviously. That's the overall move. These things do take time, though, guys, so we do have to kind of be careful with getting excited about the idea of us going to it directly, as we can get pretty nasty pullbacks along the way, something like this, a nice washout before a final move sometimes, or it'll be one of those things where this turns into a larger structure overall and we evaluate price action. So in terms of our move up, you guys know that we are looking at things in terms of a move through quarterly ranges and yearly ranges. We're trying to do things on the high time frames here. So you'll notice this is our quarterly range for the current developing range, and then we have our quarter 1 and quarter 2 ranges. You will notice that I will point out frequently that we do have an NPOC in Q2 here, sitting right around 57,844, whereas our global point of control was in the high 56,000. So keep that in mind, as there are also horizontal levels of resistance there. If I recall, excuse me, there is a high time frame bi-weekly level coming in up there. Where is it at? There it goes, 55 at 790. Okay, so should this break up from here above this 49,522 key level that was given, that would be the target over time, is that 55,800 up to 58,822 in my opinion. We can narrow it down as we get closer. So essentially what you're trying to do is break into this structural range here, and getting above the box that we had deemed previously is going to do that for us. But these are the NPOC we are speaking about, so I'm going to leave that up right there and get rid of our quarterly ranges in lieu of our yearly range, just because I think that that yearly range is going to be just a better thing to look at in terms of price action. So our yearly range for developing price action is here. And you are going to notice that the POC comes in at that global POC around the $56,000 mark, and that we have tagged the EQ of the yearly range right here inside of our channel, our one standard deviation of volume, right? And that the value area low is very nicely coming in where we back tested off of our other key level and moved into high range, middle of the range, excuse me. And along with that, we did have some data from our ATAS platform here. Not something we're going to look at today, but I did want to point it out that we do use this. And this was the box we were looking to hold, essentially. So we are still looking for that. Need to see Bitcoin living in this box and holding it as support. And then I would look for it to move above the EQ of the range into this region. All right, and so you could also break this down as a structural range like so from February when we spent that time in there, and you can see the back test is perfect. So moving into part 3, if you're watching on TikTok, same. If you're on YouTube, we're just moving straight through. You will notice that we had our June bottom range here, and that we currently have a range developing from our breakout right here with the value area low coming in right around 44K or so. And that is going to be an important area to speak about shortly, okay? So realistically, though, I am viewing this as if Bitcoin can get above this box and into this range, we are going to make our move to the point of control. You got 55K here as the EQ, something to keep an eye on. That bi-weekly level is there, but ultimately I do think we get that move we talked about shark-wise into the global point of control, and then eventually fill this as well, in my opinion. So and then we'd be looking at, is it going to hold this range as support? And if it is consolidating inside of there and it's constructive, we can look for all-time highs even. So that would be the bullish case. Now, locally, we do have a lot to talk about, and same with on the high time frames for downside. So even if we do get downside from here, guys, it's totally okay. Within our yearly range, you'll notice we got support all the way down here at around 37,500, and I did take a fractal from our final washout before we made this absolutely insane move up after we consolidated here, right? So large consolidation, really nice move up, just like we had here. And then you had a head and shoulders pattern, and up it went. And that's something that we actually played really nicely in the group when that happened. And so if we just, did some dubious fractaling, which I don't think is the most valid thing to do, but just for fun, you can see how it would play out and how perfectly it plays out. And not only that, I do work off of some Fibonacci tools, whether they are peak tools, I call that peak tools in the sense that we are looking for tops. But I've got one that I've really hung on to for a long time here, and it's going to be this pole here. Main reason being is it got the highs perfectly, it's got our lows perfectly, and every single move in between has been almost perfect on this fan. So we're going to use it until it's no longer valid. But this is a high time frame pull, and you can see we are butting up against our Fibonacci fan here, finding support at the one beneath it, and basically oscillating between them. So a break of this, we'd look for a move into the next one, right, in those point of controls that we've spoken about. Should we lose support here, I'd be looking down into this region. And if you recall from the previous uploads, that 44,175 is the key level down in this region, coming in nicely on the Fibonacci fan. So this would be bounce territory for me. And if we throw the fractal back on, you can see why we look at that as a head and shoulders then. That is support, and then down to the bottom of the range and back up. And that would be something like a final shakeout, get everyone bearish here, right at support, just as people like to get bearish at the worst possible times, and move up. And that's a really dubious plan, guys. Again, a lot of things have to happen for that. So let's talk about our local ranges. So part 4 here, the local ranges are going to be really, really important here. So we are going to get rid of this high time frame stuff, just because the local ranges are going to be more indicative of what we're looking for here in the near future. All right, and I'm going to leave some of these key levels up because they are important, and I've been trying to keep you guys updated with these key levels as they come. So coming into not the crackhead time frames, but the hourly, you can see that we are still making a higher low here potentially, and so we do have a really key resistance or support that we don't want to see lost necessarily, is going to be this swing failure pattern right here. Okay, so this was an SFP at 46,730, and that was the range lows into the golden pocket and a bounce. And you can see that we've come back tested it, gotten another lower high, and pushing back into it. So losing this level would initiate targets lower. Over time, I would be looking for that 44,175 in my opinion. We do have some patterns at play, like a Gartley that could front run that, and your monthly pivot's going to be coming in right around the $45,000 level. So if we just put a line there just to kind of signify that this is where the monthly pivot is going to be generating, just so that we know that it's going to be there, this is where your monthly pivot should be coming in. So you would have a little bit of confluence with this Gartley, and if you guys recall, your value area low of our breakout range from when we left our lows should be coming in this region as well. Yeah, so this would be an area to be interested in. I would evaluate it as it can continue down to 44,175, and if it does, I would look at that as bounce territory as well. So not the end of the world, just we're looking for the most obvious trades, but having been to the highs of the range now and bouncing at the EQ, loss of this EQ would probably move us down into this point of control, which is at $46,000. And I don't really know if there's a ton of support there as of right now. I would really want to see another swing failure pattern and some strength entering on volume in order to be taking long. So, and it's the same for this region, guys. I will be monitoring the region. I would never blindly set as I do leverage trade. So if you don't leverage trade and you're okay with DCAing, just understand that these are going to be some of the targets that I have potentially for the move down if we are to get it. And don't be afraid to dollar cost average into that 37.5 level, which is your value area low on your macro yearly range. Okay, so that's just some food for thought there. The Gartley I'm not in love with, and I've made that known in my group, mainly because I just don't think there's a lot of confluence for that level. I feel like we could just go right through it after a quick bounce. So do be careful, but loss of 46,730, this swing failure pattern where traders have been settling up for some time now, is going to be the level that you want to keep an eye on. Okay, so the loss of that would also be loss of some weekly structures and would move us into the idea that we could move down. So let's take a look at that as well and get rid of this Gartley. Right, so we are on to the structure here on the weekly time frames for volume ranges. You guys know I like to track things both in structure and time. I do think that they both serve a purpose. And we are using time for this. And you can see that it is trying to establish a local range here at the lows for this current week. And a loss of this level would mean that this range eventually is going to have to shift down. So then I would look at this as a failure and a sign of weakness, and just confirmed by losing the support that we've been hanging on to, then yeah, we would have that move probably down into this 45K region at a minimum, in my opinion. But there are no guarantees in crypto, so just make sure that you are trading. If you are trading, that you're trading and using some risk management. So what you want to see is the key level I gave on both Twitter, and I've given it to some people in some groups that I'm in, is 47,770. This is going to be your mathematical key level for the next coming weeks. I don't do these based on time. I do them based on market structure, and the market structure says if we do not hold this level as support, we are going to make a move down. Okay, so being above 4770 also puts you back inside of an old range, and we can look for rotations to the point of control. And if we were to rotate as high as the point of control, we could assume a resolution to the upside, and we could get a move into the golden pocket officially and have something like this at that time, and that would be something like a butterfly. Okay, so that would be what you're looking for there. So we have our invalidations. We know that loss of this level doesn't really look the greatest. We know we're probably making a move down at that point, and then we just need to evaluate reactions and make sure that we're taking the best trades when they come available to us. I've kind of given you guys those levels though. If you're a DCA guy, this is definitely bounce territory in my opinion, anywhere from where the monthly pivot's going to generate around 45K down to 44,000. That little $1,000 pocket is going to be a really important area for Bitcoin to establish itself if we make a move down. I don't think it's the end of the rally if we do, guys. I mean, it's one of those things where these things take time, and so the ebbs and flows of the market can really grind people out, especially day traders like myself. So you really have to keep your head on your shoulders and have a good high time frame view of what's going on versus just always living in the moment, unless you're comfortable with just taking profits every day and never getting back in the market. All right. Now moving over to ATAS and actually looking at some of the volume from our break of the lows. You will notice the point of control and TPO point of control are coming in at 45,940 with the value area low at 44,500 and 45,000 respectively. So again, this little box right here is support. That could also be the Gartley completion zone. So if we get a good reaction there, guys, it's one of those places I am looking to play in that area if it does arise. Okay, so we do have some support to say that that would be an area of interest. So keep that in mind as we go forward. And let's move into the high time frame stuff. And again, guys, this is that high time frame pool that I've showed you several times, both on TikTok and Twitter, and also in my previous YouTube channels. This is a macro view of distribution on time on Bitcoin here. You can notice the .133 gets the cycle low. Our 42% pump when China unbanned Bitcoin is right here at the .25. Our 382 is actually one I'm pretty proud of because when we were consolidating here, I had said, well, when we run up here, we're looking for 11.5. We'll probably take the level out on a weekly basis, and then we'll come back beneath it. So what we're going to be looking for is a second closure above 11,500, which is your macro 50% from your 20K high to your 3K low. Once we claim that on a weekly basis, the second time I'd be looking for a break up, and it came in on the 382, and then the 414 in January was the date we were looking for, as this is the first time Bitcoin started making longer ranges after it had been making shorter ranges for this entire move up. So you had this really long range, longer range, well, long range but not as long range but not as long as the last one, long range, not as long as the last one. And you can see how the price is accelerating. Ranges are getting shorter. Change of behavior right here after the 30% dump after our macro pivot point. And we've now reached a new pivot point in time, and it's the 50%. So if we are going to get a large scale retrace or something like that, we are definitely in that territory. Both the crab supports that with the fib time coming in here on the 23rd, pinpointing the top of this current move. And the 50% here. So just keeping our head on a swivel, guys. It's on the table. Nothing is guaranteed, as I always will say. So I do think that a move down is in the cards potentially. At least that's how I'm playing it. I've taken a pretty good amount of profit in this area because it's just a really big area, even from a Fibonacci standpoint. Even though we didn't get the 618, your trend-based Fibonacci pulls are there, the 2618. There are some 1618s that line up there, the 1-to-1s, all kinds of stuff. So this was a really big area, both from volume and Fibonacci to be looking for. And now we have some time confluence that we could be making that move down. So hopefully you guys have found this information useful. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Leave a comment down below on the video, like it, subscribe, help the channel grow. And I will be starting a free group soon. It's just for books only. That's coming this week. I've just been really busy and slammed with life. So I'll get that launched. I do owe it to you guys because I said I would do it first of all. And we will get you guys some educational material. And we'll go from there. Otherwise, really appreciate you guys tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next one.